Most people trust nice personalities without thinking twice, but psychology shows that being nice isn't always the same as being genuine. Sometimes it can hide patterns that are harder to see and even harder to question. The dark side of nice personalities isn't about kindness itself. It's about what drives that behavior and what happens when it becomes a strategy instead of a natural expression. By the end of this, you'll understand why some people rely on being nice, what it does to their behavior, and how it can quietly affect relationships. At first, being nice seems like a positive trait. It creates harmony, avoids conflict, and makes interactions smoother. But when someone feels the need to always be nice, it often comes from a deeper place, a need to be liked, accepted, or emotionally safe. This is where the shift begins. Instead of being kind because they want to be, they become nice because they feel they have to be. The brain starts linking approval with safety. If people like me, I'm okay. If they don't, something feels wrong. Have you ever felt uncomfortable saying no even when you knew you should? That's one of the earliest signs of this pattern. The fear of disapproval becomes stronger than the desire to be honest. Over time, this creates a gap between how someone feels and how they behave, and that gap has consequences. When someone constantly suppresses their real thoughts or emotions, those feelings don't disappear, they build up. This often leads to passive behavior, indirect communication, or quiet resentment. On the surface, everything looks calm. Underneath, there's tension. This is why some nice people struggle with hidden frustration. They agree when they want to disagree, they give when they feel drained, and eventually the imbalance starts to show in subtle ways. Now, consider this. Is the kindness genuine, or is it being used to avoid discomfort? That question changes how you see the behavior. Another layer involves control, but not in an obvious way. Being consistently nice can sometimes be a way to manage how others perceive you. If you are always agreeable, always helpful, always accommodating, you shape the image people have of you. And that image can feel important to maintain. The brain begins to associate being liked with being safe. So instead of expressing authentic reactions, the person adjusts themselves to fit expectations. This creates a kind of emotional performance, where behavior is guided more by external response than internal truth. In relationships, this can create confusion. A partner might feel everything is fine because there's no conflict, but in reality, important feelings are being held back. Needs are not being expressed, boundaries are not being set. And without boundaries, connection becomes unbalanced. Here's a subtle but important insight. True kindness includes honesty. It includes the ability to say no, to express discomfort, and to create limits when needed. Without that, niceness can become a form of self-neglect. But there's another side to this. Some people learn that being nice gives them indirect influence. Instead of asking for what they want directly, they give, help, or accommodate in ways that create an unspoken expectation. They hope others will respond in return without ever stating it clearly. When that doesn't happen, it leads to disappointment, and that disappointment can turn into silent frustration or withdrawal. Have you ever noticed someone who seems kind but becomes distant when their effort isn't recognized? That reaction often comes from unspoken expectations. The brain, in this case, is trying to create fairness without direct communication, but without clarity, the outcome rarely matches the intention. Another important factor is conflict avoidance. For many nice personalities, conflict feels threatening. It creates emotional discomfort and uncertainty, so instead of addressing issues directly, they avoid them. In the short term, this keeps things peaceful. In the long term, it prevents problems from being resolved. Small issues grow into larger ones simply because they were never addressed clearly. And over time, this avoidance can weaken trust, not because of what is said, but because of what isn't. Let's pause for a moment. If someone never disagrees with you, never challenges you, and always seems okay, do you truly know how they feel? That question reveals the hidden cost of constant niceness. Because real connection requires authenticity. It requires space for disagreement, for honesty, and for emotional expression. Without that, the relationship stays on the surface. The most surprising part is that many people who rely on being nice are not trying to deceive anyone. They are trying to protect themselves. They've learned, often from past experiences, that being agreeable leads to acceptance, while being direct can lead to rejection. So they choose safety over authenticity. But that safety comes with a trade-off. They lose the ability to be fully seen, and without being seen, they can't be fully understood. In the end, the dark side of nice personalities isn't about kindness being wrong. It's about kindness without boundaries, honesty, or self-awareness. It's about when being nice becomes a shield instead of a choice. And once you understand that, something shifts. You begin to see the difference between someone who is kind and someone who feels they must always appear that way. You notice when behavior is natural and when it's driven by fear or expectation. And more importantly, you start to reflect on your own patterns. Because the goal isn't to be less kind, it's to be more real. If this made you think about your own experiences or the people around you, take a moment to reflect on what stood out. And if you want to explore more insights into human behavior and relationships, you can stay connected for more.